Some massive Treyarch documents have dropped about Black Ops 2 Zombies that I genuinely don't see enough people talking about. One of the biggest documents is how Jimmy Zielinski, the creator of Transit and Die Rise, talks about how he knows these maps were absolutely massive failures, and as such, they went into Buried, and Buried was not created by Jimmy Zielinski. You can see this document here clearly states that it is created by David Vonderhaar as an immediate response to all the negative backlash that Transit and Die Rise had, which then obviously led into the Black Ops 2 Zombies masterpieces being Jason Bundel's Mob of the Dead and Origins. So let's get into this because there's a lot of incredibly juicy details. One of the biggest things that I saw that immediately stood out to me was the popularity and player distribution of Zombies as a whole. They clearly state that Zombies has grown over the years to become an extremely popular pillar of the Treyarch's Call of Duty offering. And they actually give out numbers towards the whole analytics side of this, which I think is crazy. They actually rate it between the noob, the common player, and the hardcore, which I find so funny. The noob plays Zombies 30% of the time in the player base. The common man was playing 50% of the time. That is huge. That is saying that 50% of everybody who ever touched multiplayer was also on Zombies itself, as well as the hardcore player of multiplayer was playing Zombies 20% of the time. So this was an absolutely massive jump, and I think there's no other game obviously to celebrate this jump other than Black Ops 1, because World at War was when Zombies was much more of an experimental mode, but Black Ops 1 shot the popularity of the game mode through the roof, and I think that's why still to this day we still have people that say Keynote or Toten is the greatest Zombies map, because it literally pioneered a whole different pillar towards the Call of Duty game. So seeing this actually being acknowledged back in 2012, back in 2013, when they were working on the DLC for Black Ops 2 is really insane. And then here we actually have a lot of different images from the Buried document with David Vonderhaar saying how this is an absolute better play than what Die Rise did. There's a lot more visible clarity than what Die Rise and Transit was doing here. You can actually see a lot of complaints as well for Buried, where the map uses an abundance of wooden boards, structures, doors, zombie barricades. They're talking about how the player should say how unsafe it is. I don't know. Some of these are obviously from management, and that's why I think it's very funny. But basically what you're going to figure out in this video is that management figured out that Jimmy Zielinski did not have a great grasp of where the Zombies mode should be going, especially on the 360 hardware, which is why I do believe he ended up getting let off of the Zombies team. Here you can see another image with Buried here where it says this door appears boarded up, which closely resembles a zombie boarded barricade, and how that was a lack of visual clarity. So I don't know, I think it's just so funny how they were so particular back in the day, and I feel like this is just not how they create zombie maps anymore. Here they're actually talking about cutting a massive significant interior space in the Buried mansion, and you're gonna notice even with a lot of these other clips how they cut out a lot of stuff from Black Ops 2 Zombies. We've talked about this. Here you can see just some clear decisive points of what exactly they cut out, being like the mansion, the candy and the toy store were apparently supposed to be two different stores. The oil derrick was supposed to be a whole other area of the map. The mortuary was supposed to have an interior as well. There's so many interesting things inside of this clip. And then that is also why Vonderhaar stated that Buried was the best Zombies map of all time, because he was the literal guy who made it. So many people don't know that. And again, these documents, I was not able to find any of this by myself. I actually do have to give a big shout out here to the gaming revolution, because I don't know how this man found these incredible documents. But one of the craziest parts about what went wrong here about the first two maps is we have a direct back and forth from Jimmy Zielinski, the man who made Transit and Die Rise, against David Vonderhaar. And I gotta read this to you guys because this is just insane. So they're talking about what went wrong with Transit and Die Rise here, and they're saying there was poor communication between the Zombies design direction and and external departments, the collective buy-in from other teams was essentially neglected. The Zombies team was all by themselves, and that is why the campaign team, basically being Jason Blundell's team, took over so full force on Treyarch with Black Ops 2's Mob of the Dead and also Origins. The communication between design and say art was left to a production process when it should have been considered as an important relationship for solving problems or coming up with future ideas. And so Vonderhaar actually just roasts Jimmy Zielinski constantly throughout this. And he's like, this misses something. I think it is important. People in the studio management layer felt you ignored direction and wasted time. Oh my gosh. People in the organization feel Zombies team don't listen. This touches on the latter of it, but ignores the formal entirely. This also ignores the repeated feedback that Zombies is too hard and too punishing and unforgiving. And that is so insane because, you know, for the next entry with Black Ops 3, Blundell was forced to make it from the 2-hit system to the 3-hit system. And Vonderhaar is clearly stating how we need to appeal to more zombie players because it's too hard and unforgiving. And this same sentiment still exists now with modern zombies, which is so crazy as well. Instead of it being a 3-hit system, now you have armor, you have like 25 hits until you down, basically. And I think that is so insane that it all started with Black Ops 2 Zombies, where the entirety of the identity of the mode completely changed. Now, they have a section here called What Went Well, and there seemed to be community support for the overall number of weapons shipped with Transit, although they have asked for more wall weapons per area, which was a big deal, obviously, with Town, to account for the spaces in between. This could as well be the response to the inherent design of Transit and goal to drive players around the map. So funny the wording of this as well, especially with what we got in Black Ops 7 being Ashes of the Damned, literally allowing the player to drive around the map. Although as DLC shipped and weapon loadout and total numbers changed, players were less appreciative when the overall numbers of weapons dropped or layouts of weapons didn't favor obtaining weapons in a favorable progression. Overall, weapon numbers and variety have been well received. That was literally the only positive part about Transit and Die Rise. To me, that is so funny. Like, I think the fact that even Treyarch acknowledged that the maps themselves had nothing to offer with the Easter egg, and how that became the backbone of the identity of the Mob of the Dead and Origins Jason Blundell maps as well, is so fascinating to see the contrast of this. And then Vonderhaar says, warning bells for me. The belief is that the zombie development team depends far too heavily on a handful of message boards, folks that do not represent the majority perspective. That is so true. So many people did not care about the little lore applications. Even still to this day, the majority of people that play modern zombies just like the gameplay, right? Citing this shows that you even aren't listening to this criticism. Oh my gosh. Even if MP cites or references community input, Zombies has to do it selectively. Be sure this is the place you want to hang this hat. Vonderhaar is roasting them. And it's so funny because everybody praised Buried as like Jimmy Zielinski's greatest map. And meanwhile, Vonderhaar in the back at Treyarch is just roasting Jimmy Zielinski. And he's like, bro, these maps suck. There was no clear direction. There was no way for any of the lore to be communicated transparently. And I think that's just the funniest part about this, that Vonderhaar created a lot of people's favorite Zombies map in Black Ops 2. And so here they're saying what went right. They actually include the time bomb from Buried, and they're saying learning from the EMP, making it discoverable and usable was the key that this was achieved with. Time bomb has become a new choice for players from the box in which to choose between time bomb and the monkey bombs. If one player gets a time bomb, the team now has a vital save point in that game, and a new save point is possible every time they get ammo. And this way, save points need to be earned over time, and this felt right in the context of a survival game, and this has been echoed in the community response. What went wrong? The QA time and focus locating edge case issues in the game. So I'm assuming that's just like the placement of the time bomb. But it's true. Everybody loves the time bomb. The time bomb was great. Even people loved a lot of the exclusive buildables from Buried, like the head chopper, the subsurface resonator. That was really fun. As well as the fact that, yeah, the wonder weapon and the Easter egg gameplay, as well with the new addition of the perk being Vol Trade, was still one of the greatest fan favorite like perks of all time. That's why they brought Voltrade back into modern COD Zombies. And it's insane. This all came from David Vonderhaar, and he already knew what zombie players liked more than Jimmy Zielinski in a lot of ways, which I find insane. And Vonderhaar here says, be sure this is really all you want to say. More than what went wrong with the time bomb, usability problems abound. Vonderhaar was not resting. This guy was flaming the entire Zombies team internally. Oh my goodness. He goes on to say, it's also inconsistent with what this does in the regular game. The ZM team hasn't learned. And this document still does not address the criticism that Zombies hijacks gameplay content from other systems and turns it around to do something great for Zombies, and the impact that goes for discoverability and learnability into the game. Think bigger than Zombies right now. This went wrong, and you should stand that up and be honest about that, or face the criticism that you haven't. Wow, oh wow, Vonderhaar cooked here, because still to this day, the Zombies team, I feel like, does not listen to this one little excerpt that Vonderhaar just said, and that is, can we take systems from multiplayer, from campaign, transform them into Zombies, and make them somehow actually worthwhile to play, to enjoy, to actually go into the game and not feel like this is just being ripped from another aspect of Call of Duty, but to make it and reinvent it to be something great for the impact of Zombies as a whole. That is what an incredible statement. I wish I would have read this literally 10 years earlier, but the fact that this has now come out and people can genuinely see that Vonderhaar was trying to reinvent the game with Zombies. And this has been the commonality from Black Ops 2 to Black Ops 3, and I would even say Black Ops 4, obviously with Vonderhaar putting in Buried inside of Blackout, right? And it's insane to me that as soon as we went to modern Zombies, Cold War, Vanguard, MW3 Zombies, BO6, BO7, this sentiment has been fully lost. And that is, I think, one of the greatest things as to why there's such a massive difference between the modern Zombies team and the OG Zombies team. They were literally trying to not make it seem like it was just hijacking gameplay, but actually creating it into something incredible. And I gotta give so much respect for Vonderhaar at the end of the day for this, because this man, when he left Treyarch, it was an absolute disaster, and to see him saying this is incredible. And then we have one last little issue here with what went wrong with Transit and Die Rise. They wanted to learn the player to be able to slide. They talk about players sliding a lot and how there needs to be third-person animations, and they were saying how it was not really going to be able to happen. It was always a challenge to locate new ways of exploiting a map, but the problem was compounded. Die Rise is a very unique map. Die Rise's vertical layout meant more than the usual number of traversals, slowing Zombies' ability to chase the player. Also, a very non-linear progression, and the Sliquifier creating extremely unique gameplay, sliding Zombies. We didn't find the worst exploits until after the map went live. And that is obviously with the high round strategy, where people just sort of like sit in the elevator shaft, spam the Sliquifier, they can't even slide towards you. They were not really thinking about it. And obviously back in the day, this meant a great deal, and you could tell Treyarch was just not happy about this being included in the game. And Vonderhaar's final comment is, this is a great example why the management feels the Zombies team is not qualified to judge the quality of their own game. Wow. You make a new feature that requires third-person animations, but don't make those animations, thus hurt the 360 design. Vonderhaar's cooking, bro. Bro, I want Vonderhaar to create my game, bro. Like, this guy is cooking the Zombies team. And so, with this type of feedback and these two documents being the Buried Killed list and the BO2 Zombies post-mortem, you can really understand why Black Ops 2 Zombies fell apart. Jimmy Zielinski, sure, he introduced so many of the iconic aspects of COD Zombies as a whole, but failed to deliver off of the massive hype with the moon finale of the Earth literally exploding. And it's insane because people like David Vonderhaar, somebody who was working on multiplayer, was able to completely nail what players wanted, with Buried being such a unique map, above ground, underground, having all these little tunnel systems, and he absolutely killed it. And so it's just insane. This ideology for zombies is long gone, and I have to give a massive shout out here to Vonderhaar and obviously Blundell, who picked up the pace, who made zombies much more clear, much more objective focused, and allowed the game mode to grow as far as it was. And it's insane because people want this back. I feel like we've almost got an inverse situation with modern zombies to this right now. We're back to all these like multiplayer systems, Warzone systems, and this was never the identity of zombies, literally being proven with these two documents right here. And that to me is one of the craziest unveils with these leaked Treyarch documents, basically saying Call of Duty Zombies was meant to be its own situational mode from the very beginning, distinct from multiplayer, distinct from campaign. And this is not what we're getting, and that is why so many people are upset. Ladies and gentlemen, if you did enjoy these leaked Treyarch documents, please let me know in the comment section what you guys thought, because this is one of the craziest leaks I think I've ever seen for Black Ops 2.